Hey everyone, welcome to the Firefighters Global Consulting Behind the Smoke podcast. This podcast operates wholly independently of any specific fire department, union, or municipality. This podcast is intended to provide information, education, and hopefully even entertainment for some of our listeners, and is provided in our personal capacities and does not reflect the official policies, procedures, or views of any specific fire department, union, or municipality. Furthermore, no official department resources, equipment, or on duty time are utilized in the operation of this business or the making of this podcast. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy it. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of FGC Behind the Smoke. Today we have a special guest on. We have Stephen Majetic. Stephen is a financial advisor, and today we're going to be going over, a bunch of different topics really when it comes to helping firefighters invest and plan for retirement. And we had a bunch of questions given to us from various firefighters. And yeah, man, thanks for coming on. First
Thanks
off,
for having me, buddy. Yeah, this is fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're the only one who's ever showed up in a suit and tie, so this is pretty legit.
I don't know. Now I'm embarrassed.
No,
Well, no,
it's good.
I had some meetings and some work stuff today before this. So, I mean, if I could do this in slippers and sweatpants, I would. That's
Maybe next time when we get you back on again.
yeah. But so I just kind of came here from that, so it worked. It worked. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I said, man, I'm pumped to have you on. Like this
Cool.
stuff to me is you and I talked about before we started recording. It's like very foreign to me, right? And I think it's like that, especially with, a lot of firefighters because we do have that pension plan and
Sure.
that kind of stuff, right? So, but it's so important to be able to plan ahead and to kind of grow your money more, even though you do have that pension plan. And yeah, like I said, dude, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We all of our guests get a gift. Now I don't want you to ruin your
Yeah.
nicely combed hair, but there's a Behind the Smoke podcast
Oh, that's
hat, so
cool.
you
Oh, that's
can
great. I'm definitely gonna wear it. Definitely backwards, look cooler.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
lovely. Thanks, man. I
yeah, of
appreciate
course,
that,
brother,
buddy.
of
Thank you.
course. Right on. Could we maybe just start with just quickly kind of like you want to just give us like a little introduction of who you are, kind of what you do, and what is a financial advisor?
Cool questions. Okay, so myself, I'm Stephen, born and raised in Vancouver, well, Burnaby. Um, I always kind of wanted, I liked numbers, but I was also a bit of a creative too, right? So, with finding a slot of who I wanted to be when I grow up kind of thing was a challenge, but I knew I wanted to be entrepreneurial in a sense. So, I went to school, started kind of getting into studying, as a post-secondary business with a focus on accounting, thinking I'd be a CPA, right?
Right.
Then, while I was paying my way through school, I was working as a butcher. So I was kind of like, well, this is a great gig to pay the bills. Never took any student loans. Was able to insure my car, put gas in it, still a couple bucks left over for beer money with the boys and stuff like that. So it was a sweet gig, but I know I needed some resume booster. So I went around a bunch of places. Finally, I got picked up by a bank. And I said, okay, this will be good, numbers, experience on a resume. But I ended up falling in love with the banking side of things. I just thought it was really cool. You can be a bit creative, you can be forward looking, you can interact with people from all four corners of life and learn a bit about them. It was really neat. So I'm like, I'm going to stick with this banking stuff. So I was at the bank for some time, for some years, and then one day I kind of just went off, and I was like, I could do this better. Um, I won't mention where I was, but like there's certain elements in retail banking where I would say that maybe my moral fiber had a higher thread count than the status quo. So there
Right.
was a lot of groups I felt that were underserved by, your average person that walks into like your local bank branch,
Yeah.
you name it. The blue guy, the green guy, the red guy, whatever. And I was like, so I said, okay, I'm going to go on to the independent side of things, hold no biases, have no sales targets and quotas, and just keep it real and connect with people, which is actually the favorite part of my job, like the paperwork, the charts, the graphs, like they're useful, but they're kind of like,
Yeah.
I like just talking to the people, being a practitioner,
Right.
kind of like a doctor where you examine, diagnose, prescribe, but I just do it with money and numbers. And
Right.
I just loved it. So I got into that. That was 2014. I went off on my own, and I've been at it ever since.
Nice.
Fast
So
forward to today. So yeah,
been a good run.
it's been a good run. I mean, in the beginning, it's kind of, you're starting anything. I was young, man. I was in my mid 20s, early to mid 20s. I don't think I was even 25 yet when I started. So in the first little bit, it kind of does feel like you're in a knife fight in a closet, in a phone booth kind of
Right.
thing, right? Where you're
Yeah.
like, oh. But once you kind of get over, a handful of years later, you kind of crest over that, and things are um, moving along, and yeah, I wouldn't want to do anything else. It's a really cool gig.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, very
Yeah.
happy.
Like you said, right? It's that human element, right? Like you're not just looking at people as numbers, right? You're actually helping them with goals that they want to accomplish and
Hmm.
that kind of stuff, right?
You treat the
So
man, not the number. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. How do you
Yeah.
make it make sense for them? Educating people about like where they're at, where they want to go, and making it make sense. Like
Hmm.
talking to them in a language, they can digest. I think a lot of people go out there and go right to Google and say, blah, 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 how do I do this? Or blah, 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 what's the best investment for that? Or what's the best financial tool or
Hmm.
strategy? I mean, you're going to get some blanket response. So if you can cut out all that noise and just focus on, hey, Adamo, like why are we doing, like, what's in it for you here? Like this, like step by step, this is what you do. And then you see that moment where their eyes kind of open up and they're like, oh, it makes sense. Yes. Wow. I've been looking for this for a while. I find sometimes that's the most, exciting part. Like I think that's where the clients see uh, a heap of value, right? Where they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, this doesn't look like Egyptian hieroglyphs anymore.
Yeah.
This is in plain English.
Yeah.
I can understand. This guy told me in a way that, and that is a skill that is hard to develop, but really important when you're trying to talk to somebody. I mean, we've all had an experience at a doctor where it's like, okay, this guy's a real egghead. He's a real brainiac. He
Hmm.
obviously understands the human body and what, you know, prescriptions to write or this and that. But the way he explained it to me, I don't, I mean, okay, I'm glad this pill or cream or shot or whatever is going to fix what I got based on what you say, but I don't even still know what's
Yeah.
wrong with
It
me.
still doesn't
But
make any
thanks,
sense.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take two of these before bed. I got whatever it
Yeah.
is, right? But helping people kind of understand what's actually going on and then the why about what to do to moving forward. It's that's a cool moment. Seconded only by when someone lays out a goal and then you actually give them that call one day or at a review meeting and you're like, hey man, like you could have retired as of in like the next 3 weeks,
Nice.
or we're going to be able to finally get you that house,
Yeah.
or we got everything saved up and your kid can go to a university or a trade school or hell, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's kind of endless,
Um,
right? The
those are
possibilities.
some cool kind of moments. You guys probably get something similar to that when you roll up to a scenario, right? Like, I would assume no one's calling 911 to talk about the weather or what
No.
happened on your favorite rerun of Seinfeld, right?
Yeah.
So, um, when you grab that person, like, hey, you're cool. You probably get that look on their face, like, oh, finally someone. I'm not saying it's what I'm doing is totally as
No,
life
but
saving
it's
as you guys, but there's still that kind of moment that you can't really describe.
for sure.
That makes the job super cool. Yeah,
Absolutely, man.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. I like how you were saying too, like how, people can like Google stuff, but really it's like just when you Google something, it's just so generalized, right? Like where you're dealing with the individual themselves and better
Yeah.
about like where they're at, what their goals are, what the plans are, how much they can realistically invest and all that kind of stuff too, right?
And all that, and then some. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
Every single person's got a. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of tremendous basic needs and similar or identical goals that a lot of people have depending on where you're at in life, right? Like
Hmm.
if you're younger and just starting a family, other people that are younger and starting a family are going to have same or similar goals. If you're approaching retirement,
Hmm.
um, those people are going to have same or similar goals, but every single one is still unique,
For sure.
which is super cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for that. And then we'll get into these questions here.
Okay. I'm ready. I'm in the hot seat here.
Just before we get into those questions, just a quick disclaimer that we were going to mention is this is for informational purposes only, right?
Yes.
You don't know people's financial situations or what have you. So for everyone listening, again, this is for just to give you a rough idea. Definitely reach out to either Stephen or if you have your own advisor or something like that before you really put any money
Yeah.
into any of the markets, right?
Yeah. Pretty well said there. So I guess you got some questions for me, and I don't, whoever is asking, or if this question speaks to you and it seems like one you would have, don't take what I say as direct financial advice and then go and implement it because, oh, Steven said so on the podcast.
Yeah.
Go and take my answer to formulate some thoughts, plant a little seed in your mind to create a conversation with whoever your professional that you work with, or if you want to dive into it further, by all means, give me a shout. We
Yeah.
can talk about your specific case, but these are going to be kind of general, high level answers. So do not take it as
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 gospel.
directed.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's not etched in stone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the 11th commandment here. So,
Okay, so let's see here. First question. Should I invest differently because my firefighter pension will already provide me a fixed income?
ooh, good one. So again, not direct financial advice to whomever asked this question, but I really want to thank you. That's a good one. I would say yes, generally. You will construct a portfolio generally. And, myself or some counterpart of mine will probably sit down and say, look, buddy, okay, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. There's no wrong answers here. Excuse me. There's no wrong answers here, but um, depending on your time horizon or your investor profile, like risk tolerance, generally it's not safe to mix emotions and money, but let's be real, it's there.
Yeah.
So, I would go through and ask you some questions, and that would help me determine where on which rung in the light. We'll use a ladder term here. No, 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 not pun the environment here, but you have, a ladder. Top rung, very growth oriented, somewhat. You're looking for, you're a bit more aggressive versus bottom rung, very conservative. And if you look like an investment portfolio, how can I use an analogy? Like a hot cup of tea. Okay, I give it to you. It's piping hot. Like,
Hmm.
the steam from the tea is curling your mustache. So yeah, that's how hot it is. So you're like, oh geez, I really want my tea, but I don't want to burn my mouth.
Hmm.
I'm gonna drop an ice cube in there, cool it off a bit. We've all done it, right?
Yeah.
Um, well, that would be you go from a portfolio that's 100% equities or stocks. That's going to give you your most growth potential, but it's also going to give you a lot more ups and downs, volatility, right?
Right.
So you throw in some ice cube. Well, that ice cube would be a percentage of that pie being fixed income, just like your viewer's question there. And that helps bring it from this to something a little smoother. And the cooler you want to go, the more fixed income we add to that portfolio.
Right.
And what that means is something that's just giving you interest for a fixed amount, right?
Right.
You have a GIC, you put in $100, you earn 5%, you're getting $5.
Right.
That's that fixed income component. If you have the old school type of pension, like cops, firemen, city workers, government workers, etc., these do provide a future value amount, right? Like it's
Hmm.
going to be worth X amount in the future. That would then spit out whatever amount of dollars per month, which is calculated usually off your 5 best years, right?
Yeah.
In that circumstance, you got to think you got a cup, except there's no tea in it. Between your contributions and the employer's contributions, all you're doing is just adding another ice cube to that cup every year. So if you're looking, where do I go and invest, differently?
Hmm.
Well, depending on what your risk profile is, and if we're talking just about retirement needs, you probably have some decades uh, ahead before you actually retire. I know
Hmm.
we all hope it would be this afternoon, right? A lot
Yeah.
of us,
Yeah.
but let's be real, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's time to add some tea instead of just the ice. So then you go into something that's a little bit more higher up those
Higher on the
those
ladder.
rungs on the ladder, right?
Right.
Because you already got the ice. Let's
Right.
add some of the tea instead of some. Yeah, so it's a tremendous benefit to have that pension plan that's going to be giving you X amount of dollars guaranteed from the day you retire to the day you pass away. Um, if you want to generate a higher monthly income in retirement, you got to do that with your own dough.
Hmm.
Like there's no way around it,
Right.
right? Like you roll up to a fire, it's not going your way. Let's get another hose on this,
Right.
right? From a
Yeah.
different angle. It's the same kind of thing. So put a different hose from a different angle um, to then give you potentially a lot more later.
Right.
Yeah, and there's different ways to do that. And again, you'd have to actually sit down with the individual and talk about needs and comfort levels and time horizons and all that jazz. But the short answer is yes, you already got this, so let's get more of that.
Right. Yeah. I like your analogy with the tea because that makes total sense. Like you're saying how, you from your employee contributions and the employer are, you're putting those ice cubes in the tea, right?
Yeah,
So, and you know that like once you retire, you have that guaranteed fixed income, right? So for sure, it would make more sense to add that tea into the
yeah,
cup there and kind of go a bit higher on that ladder because you know for sure that you have that fixed income coming in anyways, right?
bingo. So let's just say you did that uh, um, questionnaire and we figure out what your profile is. And you come out what's called balanced, which, lion's share of people uh, are balanced. But all that means is that you're not super aggressive, you're not super conservative, you're
Somewhere in the
middle
middle.
rung on the ladder,
Right.
right? Give or take.
Yeah.
Generally, that portfolio would be about 40% fixed income, 60% equities or stocks.
Okay.
So, say you scored out as that. Well, guess what? If you're relying on your pension for long-term retirement needs, you're rocking it at 100% fixed income.
Right.
So now we have this other gap to fill, right? And
Right.
then that's where we would construct a portfolio around. That's already there. We got the foundation of the house. Let's build,
Let's build the house.
the next level all the
Yeah.
way up. We're not going to start from the chimney down. You put a brick, it just falls to the ground, right? So
Yeah.
you got the foundation one floor at a time. What does that financial house need to look like? What do we
Right.
have? What are we missing? Let's go and get it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
to just put
Awesome.
it, plainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You got to put it plainly. We're firefighters. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
mean, even I don't care if you were a brain surgeon. Still, some of this stuff is, uh, uh, you know, speaking a foreign language to most
For sure.
people. All these
100%.
acronyms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like who came up with the some of
Yeah.
these things. Even I look, I'm like, oh, I catch myself sometimes using the lingo and the acronyms, and I have to go
Dial her
back and
back.
remember acronym free zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's speak English here. Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is
So
why I was super pumped on having you specifically come on to talk about this because you're you're really good at like using these analogies and
no,
just
thank
like
you.
making it make sense,
That's my job.
and this is like our listeners that are going to be listening to this, like they're like me, right? Like if you start using like financial jargon and stuff like that, they're going to start
Yeah.
scratching their head, right?
Well,
So
this is yeah. That's the one thing I hate about my industry is you got all these like weird terms, right? That just kind of weird people out. They're like,
yeah,
what are you
it just
saying?
confuses people,
Well,
right?
it is like, for example, in our world, you would say, okay, 1%, where I would look at it and say, oh, that's 100 basis points.
Right.
When someone is like basis points, or it gets even, the more into the slang, we're like, oh yeah, that's say it's 0.8%. Oh, that's 80 beeps. And
Yeah.
someone's looking at you like, what the hell are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
I don't hear any beeps. I didn't
Yeah.
hear one, let alone 80. What are you talking about? And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right. So these kind of little things, right? I got to catch myself sometimes, but I try and, make it English. Like
Yeah.
if we were
Make
just
it
kind
make
of hanging
sense,
out,
right?
having a chat, And if any of you guys out there that played sports, you're a first year rookie and you go and kind of lean on the fourth year vet in the locker room for some advice, and you guys just kind of sit there on the pine and they chat. They're gonna give it to you real. And like I kind of want to make that same
Yeah,
kind of environment, right? Like
for
just
sure.
come at me, I'll give it to you real, I'll give it to you honest,
Yeah,
black and white for good or bad. It's the beauty of math, I guess. There's only one right answer, but people need that,
absolutely.
and they don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why, but
Well, it's good because this is
makes
what's
my job
gonna.
easy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Awesome. Okay, next question here. Okay, so if I retire early, how can my investments bridge the gap before pension payments begin?
Good question. In almost any way you'd like, if you kind of came up with some planning along beforehand, right? You don't do
Right.
it the day before you retire. It's done,
Hmm.
years. Um, say this person was a client, we're getting together, and I'm not sure what age this individual is or what they mean by an early retirement, but your guys' retirement is going to be based on years of service, your commencement date is getting hired, and all that kind of stuff. So those
Hmm.
those um, periods of when you can take early retirement or your earliest unreduced or even the earliest reduced
Yeah.
is going to be different for each person. But let's just throw a dart at it here and say that traditional retirement is 65,
Right.
and you can pull the pin and punch your clock for the last time at 55.
Right.
Well, we got a decade between traditional retirement and this, so you almost kind of wonder, okay, well, how could what I have benefit me over those 10 years? And now you got to think, you retired 10 years sooner than maybe the next person at a
Right.
different job. You're going to have to make that money last, right? You don't
That
want
10
to
years.
say,
Yeah.
oh, Adamo, he lived to 89. He could have kept going, but he ran out of money. He starved to death. I mean, it's a story that nobody wants, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was really hoping for his 90th birthday, dude. Oh, man, no, right? I mean, I'm being facetious. But so you got to sit there and look at it. Okay, so you have your firefighter pension from the municipality or wherever, you may be. Generally, it's a municipal.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so that's going to start kicking in. But then you got to look at other kind of things. If we're talking about here in Canada, you got OAS, you got CPP,
Hmm.
these types of things. When do you turn that on? Do you even qualify for OAS? It's a different subject, but all those kind of things. When do you turn them on?
Right.
Do you do it right away or do you wait longer and get more? If you had a financial plan in place and you're working with someone like myself and we got started on this well before we're thinking of even thinking of retirement, we would have different types of buckets set up that we could poke at and pull the lever on and flow some money out at our control
Right.
before the pensions, before things like maybe RSPs convert over to the income they can provide. Well, now that's very fixed. That's kind of on a set of rails, right? It's on a
Right.
track. There's no turning left, turning right. It's A to B.
Yeah.
So we would set up some other accounts. That could be your tax-free savings account. It could be a regular non-registered investment account, and we can get into some of this jargon afterwards. But that those are tools and buckets that we would fill and then use when at our control when we want to later in a period where we have to make capital last longer or we have to start sucking on the get it out the spout sooner,
Right.
right? So case by case would determine, okay, what else do we do? So you really need to actually sit down with a professional like myself or whomever you use that really understands, retirement planning and come up with a plan, right? Like which buckets are we setting up so that way we can reach onto the shelf and pull them off later
Right.
when we need to at our control.
And I would assume the sooner the better, right? So let's say like me, for example, I was 25 when I got hired. I can retire at 52 with earliest unreduced, right?
You
Let's
guys hiring?
say, what's that?
You hiring?
Yeah, yeah, yes, we are. But let's say, okay, I'm like, you know what? I actually want to go at 50. right? So, that gives us, I'm 32, so that gives us 18 years kind of thing, right?
Sure.
So that you're probably going to have a better chance of accomplishing that goal of retiring at 50 if you start, 20 years sooner as opposed to if you start in, 5 years kind of thing.
Well, I mean, bingo. You don't really need to be the world's greatest financial advisor to know that math. I mean,
Right.
what tastes better, the steak that marinated in the fridge overnight, or the one that you just kind of threw on the grill and hope for the best?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, duh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you were, wise or intuitive enough, I mean, let's just face it, when you're in your 20s, you got Superman syndrome. The
Yeah.
world's going to last
Yeah.
forever. Nothing can happen to you. You can go out drinking all night, get no sleep, and wake up to your alarm clock like nothing happened. I
Yeah.
mean,
And still feel
the
okay.
world's your oyster, right?
Those
So
days are gone.
yeah. Sadly, right?
Yeah.
But also for good too. But
Yeah.
um, uh, you know, you're not necessarily in the mindset at 25 to think about, oh, how do I best optimize my money today to provide me with the wealth I need decades from
Right.
now. I mean, one out of 120-year-olds, 25-year-olds, whatever, is thinking like that. However, if you were to start at 25, you'd have no problem pull and shoot on an early retirement.
Right.
And you'd have way above and beyond whatever your defined pension is giving you, or you and your spouse. I mean, you'd be sitting really
Sitting pretty.
pretty. I mean, um, if you had someone that put, say, I'd have to double check the numbers here, but you had person A that started saving for 10 years um, at age 20. So from age 20 to 30, they save X amount and then stopped after 10 years. His buddy says, geez, wow, look at how much money you saved and you grew that by. You know what? I should do that. And they save from 30 to 65. The other friend stopped saving after 10 years. The other one does it for, you know, decades.
Right.
Person A that started 10 years earlier and only saved for 10 years, and keep in mind, they're both saving the exact same amount,
Right.
earning the exact same yield. Everything is the same except the start point of savings. The person that started at 20 for 10 years and stopped will have more than the person that started at 30 that stopped at 65.
Holy shit.
Like a substantial amount more.
Wow.
Like, yeah,
Is that just due to like more time in the market kind of thing?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's you're not ever you're rewarded primarily for being a saver.
Hmm.
When it comes to investing, everyone gets so caught up in oh, this stock, that fund, this tool, that tool. Cool. Um, you're a firefighter. You could have the coolest, kookiest Ripley's Believe It or Not type of hose and nozzle system.
Right.
Useless if there's no water coming through it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. So time and compounding. You're not ever rewarded for being some ace run it like average Joe day trader. You're not trying to time the market. You're always rewarded for time in the market,
Right.
right?
Yeah, that makes
How are you going to
sense.
get better skating? Watching videos about ice skating, or actually being on the ice with a pair of skates,
Right.
running pylons, right? You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
So same kind of analogy. You know
Right.
what I mean? Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean it makes sense when you say it how you did, right? But
Yeah.
it's crazy to think that like, if somebody starts when they're 20 but stops when they're 30, they're gonna have more money than the guy who
Starts at 30.
starts at 30, right? Like
It's crazy.
it's yeah, it's and this is why like this stuff is so interesting and it's really important, I feel, for people on the job to learn more about it just to set themselves up for retirement, right?
Well, I mean, and it's not a shocker that most or your average kind of firefighter doesn't know all this stuff. Like I, as a civilian taxpayer, if I found out that firefighters are down at the hall going through their mandatory training, we're looking at pie charts and bar graphs.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
like to know that these guys are out there learning how to use the equipment, save lives, put out fires,
Yeah.
etc. Right? Um, So yeah, it's not something they teach in school either,
Yeah.
right? Hey, can you teach me how to save money and do taxes and all that? Good question. But today we're going to talk about the fur trade again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, guys, why? Hudson's Bay went out of business. It
Yeah.
can't be that important anymore. But yeah, I'm joking. But these aren't.
That's
You know what I
awesome.
mean?
Yeah.
These aren't things that we learn in school. So you got to go out there and get the advice, and you got to do it from someone that you can connect with,
Hmm.
that you can understand what they're saying. They speak to you how you need to be spoken to, in a language you understand, and then the two of you trust each other.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
this is stuff that you just don't know what you don't know. And if you're going to go get advice from someone, like, hope and pray that you trust the guy or the gal, because their advice that they give you is in your best interest. Just make sure that you trust that person to
Yeah.
have the knowledge to and also the uh,
The,
character to be in your best interest at all times, and
for
you'll
sure.
be way better off. Yeah.
Makes sense for sure. Let's see here. Oh, here, this is a good one too. How does inflation affect my pension in the long term?
Uh, okay. I'm gonna try and guess at where they're going with that question. So if they're looking at just the bucket of money that their firefighter pension is going to be dished
Dishing
out
out,
from,
yeah.
I'm not going to speak for this individual, but most of the pensions that I've come across, whether it's a fireman pension or and municipal or other, generally there's some provisions within that where it will be indexed to inflation. Now, what number they use and how they calculate that is obviously going to be scattered. I mean, everybody's
Right.
going to have their own kind of thing, but some of them are, if not most, are going to have some inflationary index.
Okay.
Um, Now, I mean, this person would have to go and look into that, or if they work with someone like myself, or if they want to reach out to me, I'll look at it. But definitely, inflation can be uh, a worry when it comes to long-term wealth accumulation, right? It's kind of I don't know if you ever remember those commercials. Maybe I'm aging myself here, where they were all the sodium is the silent killer. Don't
Yeah.
eat too much salt. Like, whatever. But inflation is, right.
Yeah.
We all hear those stories from our grandparents and stuff like that. Oh, I used to buy a Coca-Cola for a nickel.
Yeah.
Now it's $2. What happened? Well, inflation
Yeah.
happened, right? And this concept was, I guess, brought a little more to light. And I know there was some jokes in there, but when we had the hangover from COVID was wearing off, and then we realized all this money that just got injected into the system, right?
Yeah.
It's like they were flying around in helicopters, just throwing out cash, CERBs and SEBA checks and all these things.
Yeah.
Um, well, you had more dollars chasing fewer goods and services, so obviously the price
So
goes up.
it rises the price of things then.
And then we
Okay.
had to go through these rapid interest rate adjustments. Well, I mean, in 2022, there was no safe place to hide
Yeah.
in terms of where you park your money. That what were they joking around? What was the term they used in the last election cycle? Oh, just inflation, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's where we kind of came, like, everyday Joe and Jane talking about inflation and having their own ideas of it. But the pension amount most likely won't be too um, dampered by that. However, to answer and go back to one of those first questions about what else could I do to maximize what I got, given that I have this guaranteed pension, that'll spit out someday. Um, you got to structure the rest of your savings to get growth above and beyond um, what we expect the inflation to be. So that way, this never becomes an issue,
Right.
right? If you look at here in Canada over the last, few decades, our inflation has kind of hovered around that 2% mark. That's our target. Anyways, it went a little bit higher, and we're trying to, governments and Bank of Canada is trying to, get that under control. But that's where it's at. If you go and look at the last 20 years of the stock market, just, in general, as a
Hmm.
whole, you're looking at close to 8%
Right.
average yield. So, if you got your pension indexed to some sort of inflation, most, not all,
Right.
then you have your other savings, and you already know everything's going to get compounded by about 2% expensive plus or minus more per year.
Right.
And you fast forward 20 years. Okay, great. Then you fast forward, 20 years on whatever you got in your investments, and say you were just invested in like an index, like the stock market as a whole. You're looking at that 7-8% average compounding. So there you go. That solved that issue
Right. So
right there.
you're coming out for the most part, if inflation is kept at that 2%, you're coming out relatively
You're coming out
ahead.
four strides ahead.
Yeah.
If you just did some basic math, right? 2 versus 8. There you go.
Yeah.
Right. Again, take it with a grain of salt or maybe a cubic meter, but
Yeah.
you got to sit down with somebody and actually go through a plan and get the right advice. What is, like, as accurate as we can get, right? Even if
Right.
it's having a conversation, like, let's start by starting.
Right.
Let's get a plan in place. If I jump in a boat and I'm on the beach and I push it in and I want to sail my boat to Hawaii, well, I know Hawaii's that way.
Hmm.
Am I going to sit here and say, oh, what's the perfect route to sail my boat to Hawaii, and then sit there on the beach all day trying to map it out? Or is it better I just go and see what happens? Because the sea's always going to change.
Yeah.
It could be calm, it could be rough, it could be who knows what.
Right. Right.
Just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
Just head
Right?
in the direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice. And yeah, as far as I know, our pension plan is indexed for inflation. I don't know to
Yeah,
what
because you
degree,
guys are
but
what, MPP, right? Municipal Pension Plan. It's got the
yeah.
letter with the green
Yeah.
kind of logo up there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've seen them, a bunch of them.
This is an interesting one. So, how should I prioritize TFSA versus RRSP contributions given my pension? This is actually a question that I
That's
had
a
as
good
well.
one.
I was definitely wondering about this because I've heard so many mixed things where it's like, you know, don't
Yeah.
invest in RRSPs because we have a pension and you'll, regret it because of the tax that you're going to end up paying when you take it out, blah blah whatever. And I've also heard, that the TFSA is a better route. So I mean, I have no clue. So
Yeah. Okay. So again, case by case, depending on the circumstances and the goals, right,
right,
of each person. If you were asking me at your age versus, say, you in 20 years from now, I mean, I might have a different answer,
right,
right? Um, but if you look at, okay, here's how I'd answer it. Yes, you do have a pension plan, and that is going to give you X amount if you were to stay in that career indefinitely till retirement, which most firemen,
yeah,
most municipal workers do,
yeah,
right? It's not an easy gig to get into. I mean, I know your guys' podcast covers some of that process of starting a career and getting into all of that,
absolutely,
and you provide a tremendous service to those interested candidates. So once you get in there, your first thought isn't how do I get out of here? It's like how do I grow, right? How do I
right,
make chief? Whatever. Okay. As you progress through the years, when you're first starting out, yes, you do get the pension and stuff, but as a younger person, you might have other goals: buying a home, starting a family, buying a new car, whatever,
right,
right? Yeah, the TFSA is going to be a great tool. Okay, you put the money in, it grows tax free, you can pull it out tax free. Awesome.
hmm,
Where, the RSP would come in, even if somebody has a pension, you don't get in to become a fireman. I mean, any job. Let's say you get a job in my world, you're working at a bank. You don't want to be a bank teller forever,
yeah, for
right?
sure, exactly, yeah,
So you want to rise, go up the ranks. Well, every time you do, or the longer you're there, I mean, I'm sure you guys, I mean, you're unionized, so you have some sort of collective bargaining agreement where there may be scheduled
hmm,
pay raises,
yeah,
right? So your income is going to go up. Where the RSP comes in handy is if you put money in there, you're going to get a tax deduction while saving for retirement, which you have to do anyways. The more money you start earning, the more income tax becomes a concern,
right,
right? Every peach has its pit.
yeah,
The bigger the peach, the bigger the pit, right? So I won't get into it here, but not every person in your organization or similar is going to be in this. But like as soon as you start ranking up and getting out there, I mean, if you're in the highest tax bracket, I mean, I don't what is I'd have to go and look,
We're
but what's the
it's
chief making these
oh
days?
God, I don't even know. Like 180 a year,
Yeah, okay. So if you were in the highest
probably
bracket,
more.
which is like, we're getting into like that, 250K kind of mark in British Columbia, 53.5% of that is gone to
Yeah,
the CRA.
right.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's a lot.
If I can take that money, put it into my RSP and reduce my income tax, and instead of paying the CRA, I pay my 65-year-old retired self. I mean, if you had the choice, gun to your head, what would you pick?
Yeah, pay myself 100%.
Duh.
Yeah,
And now you provided yourself an extra layer, an extra bucket of money in addition to that pension. And we would skew that long-term retirement RSP kind of
hmm,
portfolio because you can have whatever investments you want inside of an RSP.
right,
And the idea there to kind of answer that question and what you kind of said about, oh, don't do it because there's tax later and it's a waste of time because you got a pension. Not I wouldn't say that's the best advice. And yes, there is going to be some tax when you pull that out, but that's where it comes down to the financial planning.
right.
Um, to figure out, okay, how much do you do it? For how long do you do it? When do we stop it? Do we stop it? Like, et cetera. And then that would be me kind of coaching you along in the plan. But the idea at a macro high level, like kind of like a Google Maps 30,000 aerial view, right?
Right.
30,000 foot aerial view. You're going to be contributing to an RSP in your higher earning years, right?
Right.
So over your career, like, right, you start here, it goes up, it goes up, it goes up, and then your pension is calculated on whatever that best five
Yeah.
is, right? So that's your peak. When you retire, your income generally falls here. So you're going to be pulling income out at a lower tax bracket than when you were contributing to get the
Oh,
deduction.
I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if done right, that's where to answer that question, like it's not like a silver bullet answer
For
because
sure.
it's case by case, but you and your financial advisor would come up with a plan and figure out exactly what makes sense or doesn't, or do we utilize other kind of tools instead of or in addition to an RSP, and then of that, like, do I put more into a TFSA or something else, or more into the RSP or not? That scale is going to move
Hmm.
year by, as time goes on and you go in your career, the blueprint of your financial house changes.
Right.
We would then adjust uh,
Adjust
that.
accordingly.
So there's no silver bullet answer there. It really comes down to where you're at, where do you want to be, and what other factors contribute or take away from that. For example, income tax.
Right.
Tax grind is a real deal, man.
Oh,
I
for
mean,
sure. For sure it is. I mean, I look at my pay stub sometimes. I'm like, oh man, holy
especially
shit,
when you're
right?
getting into investments, right? You got to think the RSP and the TFSA for any average person. There's other accounts with specific purposes, but these two things are going to provide you tax benefits,
Hmm.
right? The money, they either get a tax deduction or and it grows in there tax free, or you could pull it out tax free, depending on TFSA or RSP, and we can get into the details and into the weeds on that if you want. But just to keep it short, there's no other real um, tax shelters other than life insurance, the lottery.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
your primary residence. It's kind of it,
Yeah.
right? When it comes to tax-free buckets. So use as many as you can, as much as you can, until you can't.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense. Now, as you're like explaining it, like the benefits of reducing your income tax,
Yeah.
right? That definitely makes sense. And then, I didn't even think about the fact that once you're once you retire, you're going to go down in income taxes. You're not bringing in as
In most
much, right?
cases, not every case. Some
Right.
people actually retire at the same or an elevated um, tax bracket. So then, that's where the planning kind
Right.
of comes in. Um, if I look at a different example, I mean, we could go back to the example you used earlier of your 25-year-old self.
Right.
Um, Probably a different set of goals out
Yeah.
there on the map for you, right? In the short
Absolutely.
or medium term. So if you were to say, hey, I'm 20 odd years old, 25, in my mid to late 20s, just started a new career as a fireman. Congrats, buddy. What do you want to do when one of my goals is to I want to buy a place. Okay, cool. Would we be focused on the RSP at an entry level income? Maybe, maybe not. But what do we do if we want a tax deduction?
Hmm.
Well, guess what? A couple of years ago, the government came out with an account called an FHSA. So we'll jargon that. That's a first time home buyer savings account. So if you
Okay.
never bought a house before,
Hmm.
you can actually put money into there up to 8 grand a year, 8,000 bucks. You're going to get a deduction. It's going to grow tax free and you can pull it out tax free. And you got 15 years to push the button on that.
Okay. Well.
Maybe instead of looking at the RSP with you got, okay, hey, I make this much, I spend this much, and I got this much left over here. Well, of this amount left over here, where are we putting it? If you're saving for a house, you need that down payment. Access to, like, you need to be liquid, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Access to that is key. Once the money's inside the RSP, it's kind of there. There is the first time homebuyers program aligned with that, but um, and we may use that to a degree. However, we would probably look at a TFSA and a tax-free savings account and a first-time homebuyer savings account. So that way we could still get that tax deduction whilst still focused on that primary goal of getting a down payment ready for a house,
Right. Right. And then
right?
you're still, like you kind of said, you're still keeping that money liquid if you gotta, when you need
Exactly.
to pull it, kind of
It's
thing.
liquid when you find your dream first home,
Nice.
right? Or whatever that day is. Boom, money's there.
Nice.
Then you get the house, now you got a mortgage. Now you got to be looking at a whole bunch of other things. Liquidity becomes important, cash flow management becomes important, and it all bounces back onto the financial plan, right?
Right.
You're probably going to need to start looking at that point, you got a mortgage, life insurance, and other types of risk management tools, right? Um, so again, case by case, RSP isn't your only option. However, as for certain people, my default answer is yes, utilize it. You get the tax breaks, you get a tax-free bucket to grow your money, which are few and far between in Canada. There's an interesting book called Tax Me, I'm Canadian.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like a funny title, a little tongue-in-cheek and somewhat facetious, but it tells you a lot of stuff, and it's true. I mean, we are.
we
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll
we
I'll leave
definitely
I'll
pay a
leave it
lot
there.
in
I don't want to get too
taxes.
political
Yeah.
here, but we are taxed to death, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks for clarifying that, buddy. Okay, so I guess I'm assuming that this one's really just kind of going to depend on, if you retire as a captain or a chief or whatever the case, right?
Sure.
But someone asked, what can they expect for what kind of tax bracket they would be in, likely be in retirement?
Okay. Well, really, I mean, again, I can't answer for. I know this podcast has some reach across the border,
Hmm.
and coast to coast, so I can't really comment specifically on. I know if I was to ask this question, I would maybe necessarily enjoy my answer because it's not going to be exact, but it really kind of depends. Like if you're going to get those pension statements every year. Hey, if you retire at X age, you can get, Y amount
Yeah.
each month. And that changes every year when you get those statements.
Yeah.
So someone that's going to be looking at and have that concern is not going to be the example we used of your 25-year-old
Yeah,
self.
for
It's going to
sure.
be the guy in his,
Getting
50s and
close to retirement
yeah,
kind of thing,
exactly,
right?
60s, etc. That really kind of depends. Do they have other sources of income, right? Because I know you guys do the splits, right? So you
Mm.
work X amount of days and then you're off X amount of days. Some guys got other jobs or businesses on the side. That
Right.
adds a layer.
Yeah.
Other things would be like, okay, how much do you have saved? Like, especially some of the guys that would say be maybe older than us, never had up until what is it, 2007. a TFSA. They never
Mhm.
had until a couple of years ago. We had the first time home buyers savings account. All they had was RSPs, and the
Mhm.
mantra was just get it all in there, which is great. But now you might have a big bucket there. So where I and that person would come and have a conversation would be about monthly income management.
Right.
Okay, what are we pulling from where and how? But that conversation does start a ways out. But to answer this person, you would have to look at, okay, again, I don't know how old they are, how close they are to retiring, but what is your pension going to give you each month? Do you have RSPs? Do you have other assets? Do you have things like rental income or whatever? Okay,
Right.
throw it all on the table, and then just say, okay, what is this going to be? And then we come out with some planning around tax. How do we structure the rest of the portfolios? Do we even
Right.
have them or not? Right? Are you
Right.
relying only on your pension? Then it would be a little tougher. But if they got other things going on, I would say it's about time that you go and talk to a professional, or just give me a call if you want, and I'll shoot it to you straight, black and white. But I would say, okay, let's go out there and in our minds, jot down on a piece of paper and come up with this blueprint for your desired financial house. Let's look at the existing financial house that you have.
Mhm.
Let's rearrange your existing furniture in your new desired financial house. And then and only then do we realize, okay, do we got to replace our financial sofa? Do we need to order in and go out to the market and find some new financial furniture to place into our newly designed house?
Right.
Take a look at what you have, rearrange it to suit you, and add or get rid of things that won't necessarily be a better fit for your new financial house. So this person's going from income earning years, grinding up, pushing themselves up the ladder. Now they're looking at, okay, I got retirement on the horizon here in short order. Uh, that is a good time to map out what do I want my future financial house to look like and rearrange my existing financial furniture to accommodate for that. And in this case, would be we are redesigning the house probably for tax efficiency on income,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting at where thinking where this
That's
person
what I
might be
would
going.
assume too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, assumptions are dangerous, right? But in any event, that is definitely something to go deeper into a conversation with your advisor on because there's a lot of layers
For
there that
sure.
this person needs to be mindful of.
Question that I have that I just kind of thought of. So how we were talking earlier about, for example, with like the RSPs, um, if you invest in RSPs, right? Can you specifically like kind of determine like based on the tax bracket that you're going to be in when you retire, how much you take out of the RSP each month to make sure that
Yeah,
you don't get pushed to the next tax bracket kind of thing?
yeah, exactly. So to sit there and look ahead and say, hey, what tax bracket are you going to be in? I mean, there's no crystal ball. It's really, even at best, it's somewhat opaque,
Right.
right? Um, because every time, every 4 to some odd years, well, I mean, at minimum, at least every 4, we could have a new government in Ottawa.
Yeah.
They come out with their new budgets, this, that, and the other. They're going to go up and down in this area or that area for taxes on their fiscal policies and what have you. So that's going to be constantly changing.
Right.
To get into what you said about, okay, how do I structure? Do I take out X amount or Y amount, and how do I control that? The answer is yes. So your pension is going to give you X. Okay, that's just how it is. That's
Hmm.
that's etched in stone. That's X. Your RSP, your TFSA, and then outside of that, you would have what's called non-registered investments. So that's anything that's not a TFSA or an RSP, just a normal investment account.
Right.
No deposit limits, but taxable. So let's go back to the first layer. Pension, fixed. Nothing you can do there. Second one, RSP. You can control to a degree what you take out of there. Now, there is an RSP, so registered retirement save. I'm trying to de acronym
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
here.
There we go.
So a registered retirement savings plan. Once you want to start getting regular income out of that, you have to before age 72 uh, convert it to what's called a RIF, RRIF, Registered Retirement Income Fund.
Okay.
Now, instead of putting the money in, the money's coming out.
Right.
That's where it becomes taxable as income. So you can control how much you take out or not up to there's a number. There is a government mandated minimum withdrawal
Okay.
that gets a little bit higher as you get older. It starts at around 2% of, so you got, you know, $100 in there. You're, around two and some changes. Call it $2 has to come out that year as your minimum withdrawal.
Okay.
As you get older, all the way up to around in your 90s, then it gets up to 20% mandated minimum.
Right.
So you got to play with that. And then we have other, if they say with my client, by the time we got there, we'd have other buckets that we can utilize to pull from. So it's like, hey, we want to keep our taxes low as we could,
Hmm.
but also meet our needs. What's that magic kind of number? How much are we going to take from here? And then we can say, well, you know what? Let's go reach out into this bucket and pull from there, this bucket and pull from there, and try and keep, our overall tax grind as low as
As
we
low as
can.
you
But it really
can.
comes down to just sitting down,
Yeah.
kneecap to kneecap like this, and just having a chat and saying, hey, what do you think, advisor? Okay, well, hey, let me ask you some questions, client. Okay, blah blah blah. Like, what does this look like? Here's some options, pros and cons of each. Let's get into this,
Nice.
uh, right? And then just kind of pass the puck back and forth until you find your magic little play, and then boom, pop it up top, right? So it's
Nice.
that's kind of how you would
Right.
go about
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
I
So
mean, that's the thing, right? Is
it's
it's
a lower.
so individual specific, right?
Yeah,
So
to a
it's
degree. Yeah.
right.
There's going to be some
So
similarities amongst everyone, but again, it really comes down to individuals. Like, did that person retire or is retiring as a chief, or they, whatever. Like, what is your pension income first and foremost? Because
yeah,
that's going to be a good chunk of your income,
yeah, for
right?
sure.
Where does that put you on the spectrum of tax brackets? I don't know. And then you got all these other pockets. So yeah, it's different for each kind of
Makes
each
sense.
cat. Yeah.
Makes sense. Um, okay, so you mentioned non-registered accounts. I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
So thanks for explaining that. This question says, how should I invest non-registered accounts in a tax efficient way? I guess you kind of covered that, right?
Yeah,
But
so it depends on what type of uh, investments or portfolio they have in that non-registered account. You're going to be taxed. So there's registered,
hmm
which are RSP, registered retirement savings plan. For those that got kids, maybe they have RESPs, registered education savings plan.
yeah, I got that for my kid. Yeah,
Right? Okay, so
yeah,
a TF, good for you, man. Really,
yeah,
good for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, a tax-free savings account. These are all registered accounts. So anything that's a registered account is going to come with some sort of incentive,
Right.
grants, tax incentives, what have you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything that's not one of those is now non-registered.
Okay. Got it.
These are fully taxable. No limits. What you can deposit in there, like, RSP is going to be based on your income. TFSA is going to have a set amount
Hmm.
of what you can put in there, etc. These have no limits. However, they are taxable. So if you had a portfolio that was I'll use the first example with the cup of tea,
Hmm. Hmm.
just that piping hot cup of tea, you're going to be charged capital gains tax, which is probably I mean, no tax is nice, but out of all of them, that is the nicest. It's
Okay.
the most favored. At the highest bracket, you earn a dollar, roughly 26 cents of that is off
Good.
to taxes. You keep the other 74 cents. Great. If you want to earn a dollar of interest, it's considered income. It's called interest income, and it's taxed
Right.
exactly like what your paycheck would be.
Okay.
So if that interest amount plus your income puts you into the next bracket, you know, at the worst case scenario,
Hmm.
right? If you're at the highest tax bracket, that $1 of interest actually becomes what, 46.5 cents, because the
Right.
government actually makes more than you do if you're at the highest
That's
bracket.
crazy.
In BC, it's,
Yeah.
call it 50% regardless of what province you're in, just under, just over.
Right.
So with your non-registered portfolio, there is different types of strategies that you could use to, I mean, I won't get too nerdy with it here, but there is different types of strategies you can use to actually either stay as close as you can to that capital gains bracket, or even, avoid it. And there's other strategies that we could use depending if it's the right fit for that person to have alternatives to where they would hold something called fixed income, like a portfolio that's given you, like a bond
Right.
or a GIC, right?
Okay.
At a bank. We've all
Yep.
understand the concept of a GIC, um, to tax shelter or tax advantage that interest income yield.
Right.
And there's portfolio designs that, you'd have to go to an advisor to do this, but where they can actually put you into something called, potentially, if it fits, what's called a corporate class portfolio, where you then fall into a more favored tax structure for your non-registered investments. But again, you got to sit down with the individual and do kind of like what a doctor would: examine, diagnose, prescribe.
Right.
And then once you treat the man, not the number, and then once you kind of come up with something, educate. It's my job to educate the person as to, you could do A, already doing A. You
Yeah.
could do B, and here's the benefits and cons of A versus B. My recommendation is going to be A or B or whatever mine might be, and then explain it to them and educate them and let the client decide. And maybe you educated them enough to see the merits in your recommendation.
Right.
But again, it's their choice. But that is definitely what I would, if for that individual asking this question, by all means, give me a call and I can dive into it with you, or talk to your professional that you utilize currently. Or if you're utilizing someone, you didn't like their answer and you decided to chime in and get a different one, I'm more than happy to chat. But
Awesome.
um, it really comes down to the individual specifics. But there is options, lots of options.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Let's see. So this one, I mean, this one here is going to be another one that's kind of up to the individual and based off of what their investments are like, I guess, right? But like, what age should I retire based on my pension structure? Earliest reduced, earliest unreduced, or maximum?
It depends on who that person is, how old they are, and what they got going on in life now, and what they perceive might be happening in the future. If they're getting close to that age or that date for their earliest or earliest reduced, or
Yeah.
earliest reduced or earliest unreduced, sorry, excuse me, would be a slightly different conversation. That if we go all the way back, like extreme example, you first day
Hmm.
on the job at 25, these are two very different conversations.
Right.
And again, really comes down to individual needs. So that one, I'm going to be honest, is a little tough to answer without,
Without knowing the person.
being in the room
Yeah.
with the guy or
Makes
gal.
sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
But I mean, there is, yeah, that is a real individual one. It depends on their forecasted needs, how old they are right now, and what other kind of dough they got socked away somewhere else.
Right.
And that's the big thing. I mean, a pension is great, but it's not the silver bullet financially.
Right.
It's not the
Yeah.
do all and end all.
Exactly.
Um, you know, yeah, like if it was me talking to this person, I would say, like, what is your ideal? Like, let's build that castle in the sky and have our financial plan construct a staircase from the castle down to the ground,
Right.
one step at a time. We might have to pivot and do things over time, but I mean, I don't know what's on board with that guy or gal. Or they got a spouse, they got kids, the kids in the house, out of the house, where they're going to be. So many factors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be like me asking you, hey man, I roll up and I see a fire. Pretend I had a fire truck. What's the best thing to do? I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
Is it a chemical fire, electrical fire?
Yeah. So many different variables,
Oh,
right?
I, yeah.
Okay, this one here. Should I delay CPP and OAS when I retire since I'll already have a pension? So can you maybe just explain about like delaying like
What is
CPP
CPP and
and
OAS?
yeah, like
Okay, so CPP is the Canadian pension plan. So
yeah, so we all pay
you
into
see
it.
the remittances and deductions on your pay stubs,
Yeah.
right? It goes off there. You pay some, the employer pays some, and it goes into this fund, which I got my own opinions on the management of those assets and what you could do otherwise. But any event, we are voluntold to contribute to CPP. So it goes in OAS, and then when you retire, and again, this person is now asking, okay, so I could take it at X age or I could take it up to Y age. The pro and the con there is you take it earlier, you get the income for longer, but you're getting a little less.
Mm-hmm.
You wait later, you get a lot more, or not a lot more, but a bit more, but you have a shorter runway of collecting those checks,
Right.
right? So again, it comes down to specifics. OAS is old age security. This is another benefit that's paid out by the federal government to Canadians that qualify. A lot of people run into this moment one day where they realize that their OAS was either cut back or it's called an OAS clawback or eliminated, and they're like, well, what the heck is going on? Why don't I get this and Buddy over there gets it?
Right.
It is a security benefit for someone that makes X amount or under in
I see.
retirement. So not every so if you don't qualify for it, okay, it might sting a little bit because you don't understand maybe how it works. Congrats, you're not making X or below, so the
Right.
government
Right.
doesn't
So
think
if you
that
don't
you need.
qualify for it, you're doing all right. You know.
Yeah, well, at least in the government side, they don't think you need that extra financial assistance.
Right.
So the OAS is going to be case by case. Um, and again, you might qualify it for a bit, but depending on where things go later in your retirement income earning years, maybe you bump over that amount. And I would say, congrats, you're making more than the average bear, and the government doesn't think you need the extra
The
slice
extra
of government
boost.
cheese there, right? So
Yeah.
there's a pro and a con to that. But it really comes down to it. But in short form, if you delay your CPP longer, you get more. If you take it sooner, it's a little lower, marginally so, but you get it for longer. And what would determine if we trigger that sooner or later would depend on the rest of the financial plan.
Right.
What income are you already bringing in? Does it
Right.
make sense that we do this? And then you're 100% getting the OAS clawback because now we've added all this income. We added CPP, we added this, we added that. What? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
Right.
It's got to come down to the planning and tax mindfulness is definitely
Right.
important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to make it efficient so you're not paying more in taxes if you don't have to.
Yeah. So think of retirement. It's same but different than a say like a marriage. I mean, a marriage. I mean, I'm not a huge proponent of this, but you could always say for whatever reason you can't work something out, you can always just kind of get a divorce, right?
Right.
Well, once you retire, there's no divorcing your retirement and say, oh, hold on, time out. Let's run that play back.
Right.
No, dude, you're not jumping in into the second period and saying, okay, we gotta make up some ground and get some goals here. Dude, we're in it. It's
Yeah.
one period. It's live. The whistle's not gonna blow until you're dead, right? So
Yeah.
it's something you only get to kick that can once.
Right.
So that planning and a lot of that, what this person asks about CPP, OAS later, sooner, etc. It comes up all the time. So you gotta sit down and just focus on what financial plan did you have and why, and stick to it,
Right.
right? So you plan the work to plan. That easy.
Right.
Um, it doesn't need to be hard. Like
Right.
it does not need to be hard.
Fairly straightforward once you sit down with someone and you're able to
Exactly.
right see what their goal
Start by
is and
starting,
then yeah.
plan to work to plan, adjust along the way as life changes. You didn't have kids, now you got a girlfriend, now you got a wife, now you got kids.
Yeah.
Is that financial plan that we set out for your 25-year-old self gonna really kind of is the rubber gonna hit the road based on your new? No.
Right.
So adjust,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
And you went through that. You get it.
I
Right?
get it, dude. I
You
get
know
it.
how quickly life becomes welcome to life on planet Earth.
Yeah. Yeah,
You hit a certain
exactly.
age and it goes on fast forward, right? So
Yeah,
it's yeah.
for sure, man. Um this is an interesting one. I think you kind of touched on it already, but like, should my investments change as I approach retirement? And you kind of touch on that, right? Like when you're talking about like, we're using me as an example, right? Starting at 25, it's like, it's probably more beneficial for me to maybe invest in TFSAs and that kind of stuff, depending on what I want to do, right?
Sure,
But
sure.
as you approach retirement, like, I don't know, I should have maybe gotten more clarification from people on these, but
No, no, I do have an answer for that. And regardless if it's RSPs, TFSAs, regardless of that, these are just uh buckets.
yeah,
I would compare it to, you got a car, you got your all seasons on in the spring and summer, and then you're somewhere that mandates or requires that you put on winters.
right,
Same car, just a different rubber that's hitting the road.
right,
RSP, TFSA, what have you. These are just buckets, but the portfolio can be the same amongst them both, or whatever, or slightly different. But um, uh, wait, go back to the question again. There was something I had structuring
uh,
the investments as you get older and approach retirement.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So if you were young, regardless of what accounts you're using, you're definitely going to have a longer term time horizon. Mathematically, where you would benefit from if you had the correct investor profile and the correct time horizon, where you're like, hey, this is money I'm not utilizing until I retire. I'm not touching it.
right,
Okay, well, that portfolio should probably look a lot like that original example I gave of the hot cup of tea.
right,
As we approach, because we want to just get as much as we can socked away, built up, so that way, when we get into retirement, we got more to pull from, right?
right,
It's always better to have more than less.
yeah,
As you get a little bit closer and you're more mindful, we go from capital accumulation to capital preservation and capital decumulation, right?
right,
You build it, you maintain it, you draw from it. So when you're drawing from it, a chunk of that portfolio still, unless you think you're going to die next week, we want to have that as if you were to live to 90, 100, in our minds, that's where our math is set,
right,
right? But there's also chunks that we're going to want to withdraw. And the markets, tend to go like this, right? Up,
right,
down, up, down, up, down. And over time, obviously up and to the right. You can go look at any chart going back from the start of the market to today, and you'll see that there's a lot of noise and action in between, but eventually they go like this. So that's fine. But do we want to be drawing out retirement income in down financial years? Right? 2022. Let's
mm,
go back. Markets
yeah,
fell what by a fifth, like around 20 odd percent. Do we want to pull out income necessarily at a 20% haircut, forcing ourselves to take a loss? So we have a portion of the portfolio skewed for longer term, and a portion of that a bit more calmed down, a bit more muted. So we would
right,
adjust the portfolio as such. Now, to what degree does part A and part B make up really comes down to an individual conversation around needs, investor profile, tolerance. What's the pension income giving us? Is that going to be enough? Then heck, let's let this run.
yeah,
You might get into a situation, and most people fall into this situation where, you can't take it with you. So then it just allows you to either spend a little bit more beyond, like, into the thrive category instead of just what do I need to survive. And maybe we get into a situation where you got a lot more to either spend in retirement or leave behind to your heirs.
right,
And you would adjust the portfolio as such, case by case, situation by situation. Yeah.
right,
But yes, short answer, not necessarily advice for anyone, but the natural course of things is start a little bit more aggressive and then calm it down as we get approach or into retirement. So it comes like this, and then it kind of calms down
right.
uh, gradually over
Yeah, that
time.
makes sense for
Yeah.
sure. Do we need additional life insurance beyond our employer benefits?
If I had to give a blanket answer, I would say yes, hell yes. Again, specific to what's going on. So, you guys, I'm just trying to refresh my memory in terms of what I see across my desk here. I think you guys have one or is it two times earnings built-in life insurance on your benefits plan?
I
Something
don't
like
even
that.
know. I
It's
don't
going to
even
be
know,
one
dude.
times, two times earnings, or some flat amount.
Yeah.
Um, if that individual that asked that question was to get hit by a bus done today, would that two times earnings be enough to give to whatever, their family, leave behind to their spouse, feed their kids, whatever charity they want, or just maybe they want to give it to their sibling, mom, dad. I don't know.
Right.
If that is enough, then sure. Most people with, a mortgage, a spouse, kids, these kind of things, uh, one or two times earnings isn't going to be enough unless, say it was two times earnings, unless at the start of the third year you pop out of the grave and you say, "Oh, psych," right? Like,
Yeah.
because when you die, your paycheck dies with you.
Yeah.
And if you got a mortgage, especially here in Vancouver area, I mean that's a big bill.
It is. Yeah.
Is your surviving spouse going to be able to maintain that minus your paycheck into the household?
Right.
So if say you were the breadwinner of your household, I would recommend yes, you go out there and you get some life insurance, and it's like pretty cheap, man. I mean, we're not talking about a lot here. Like,
Right.
how old are you?
32.
32. So say even if you got $1 million of life insurance, I mean, you're probably looking at, I mean, don't quote me on this. We're going to give a range, but somewhere between 60 to 70, maybe $80. I mean, you got,
That's like, yeah.
yeah, it's
Probably
a
spend
nice,
more than that on coffee every month.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. You and I both
Yeah.
don't rub it in here, but yeah, no, it's, yeah, no doubt, right? And there's other to some of these other, I don't want to get too into it because it might sound confusing to people at first, but when they talk about being efficient in planning and structuring their buckets of money for utilizing it in retirement, in addition to say whatever pension they might get, there are some life insurance contracts or tools, products, I guess, that actually help you accumulate cash on a tax-free, guaranteed almost basis.
Oh, wow.
Uh, and these things never go down in value and they go up every single year. You can make deposits into them. You can have flexibility on those deposits. You can stop them. You can start them at certain intervals throughout the life of the contract. And that would be probably an important tool. But in terms of just what everyone thinks life insurance is, the answer would probably be yes. It's cheap. It's based on your age, gender, and health. So the earlier you buy it, the better it is because it's never getting any cheaper.
Right. Yeah.
So I would say if you're thinking about it, yeah. If you think you're going to need it later, yeah, because not everybody qualifies for it. You got to go
Yeah.
out there and ask a handful of questions, depending on how much you want, your age, what, a nurse is going to have to come and,
Right.
you
Check you out
squirt in
and
a cup and you
yeah.
draw a bit of blood and yeah, do the whole, you know,
The whole thing,
yeah,
eh? The
because
whole
then it goes to the
assessment.
underwriter and they're like, oh, hey, in the red corner, we got a demo standing at X amount, weighing
Yeah.
X amount, here's his, all his labs, right? And they look, um, and there's other insurance, I think, especially for firefighters that would be, um, super important to have. I mean, your guys' job, not every day, but in some cases you're going to get those days where you just kind of hang around the hall and chop it up, and not too much happens. And then you got some days where you get called to a few car accidents or a fire or what
Hmm.
have you. You don't always know, right?
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
sure you've been surprised and will continue to be so. It's not like you're rolling up to a super safe sunshine and rainbows kind of scene, right?
Right.
A building is on fire. Well, you don't know what's burning in there. Like, are you inhaling carcinogens
Hmm.
that are going to come and get you decades later or what have you? And you got like a spouse, kids, and bills and all that crap at home. In addition to life insurance, you might want to look at something called, critical illness insurance. Um, And when, as an investment guy for years, I would always think like, no, I could out invest in insurance, and I came up with all these calculators and all this stuff, and I realized I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't, and it really kind of came down to it's an investment that's tends to be worth its most when it's needed the most.
Hmm.
You get sick, doctor says, hey, you got ABC, XYZ, cancer, stroke, heart attack, heart disease, you need a valve replacement, brain tumor, cancerous or not, whatever. Is your first thought when you walk out of the doctor's office is like, oh boy, I can't wait to go to work Monday morning,
No, definitely not. Right.
right? So let's be
Yeah.
pragmatic here. No, it's not. So what critical illness insurance would do is just give you a one-time lump sum benefit, tax-free,
Hmm.
if you were to get any of those things.
Okay.
Because if you look at all these questions, or most of these questions, have been based around saving and accumulating and utilizing money for retirement in an efficient and effective way.
Hmm.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest threat to your bucket of savings? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
your health, right?
Health
Like,
is wealth. Yeah, you got it there. So everyone thinks, oh, what if the economy tanks, or I lose my job, or inflation goes crazy, or the stock market drops, or all these things. All those things have happened countless amounts of time throughout life,
yeah.
history, right? It always recovers. It's always fine. There's always opportunity in everything. The market is down. You're pegging in every paycheck. Great, you're buying it up on sale this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congrats, right? You got
Yeah.
to look at it that way. But if you were to get into a situation where you had a spouse pass away,
Hmm.
one paycheck is now out of the house,
Yeah.
right? You run into a situation where you become sick, and now do you, or disabled. You guys do have some disability provisions, I think, in your benefits, but you
Yeah.
may want to look at additional coverage on top of that, depending on whatever your employer benefits give you, because that's not guaranteed. They might switch their benefits up, and
Hmm.
every collective bargaining agreement might
Yeah, you
negotiate
never know,
something
right?
different. Yeah, exactly. You don't know, and that's good for a handful of years, right? And then a renegotiation. Um, or if what they provide you is enough, and how long are they going to give you that income? Most people don't realize, but your disability, long-term disability with your group benefits is going to kick you off after 2 years.
Oh, wow.
It says,
Okay.
oh yeah, coverage to 65, but in the fine print, you'll see that it's uh, coverage for 24 months for your own occupation. So what you do is, in this case, as a firefighter, or
Right.
any other kind of first responder, or what have you. And you could be, any job, and this is what it's going to say for 24 months. Starting month 25, the definition switches to any occupation, which means if you could be a Walmart greeter or flip a burger or what have you, whether that job is available or not, the insurance company on these group benefits plans has an out.
Oh, I see.
So if you were to have your own policy, it could fill the gap for what they're giving you a shortfall, and then kick in full after the other one kicks you off, if that was a concern.
Interesting.
Given a first responder career, you guys are going to be coming across situations that are a little sportier than, say, I would,
Yeah.
wearing my tie, right? But there's that. Okay, your paycheck is gone, or you get sick and you're faced with the question: do I tap into the money and the nest egg that I've been growing for my retirement, or do I spend this money to improve my situation, or save my life?
Right.
What a tough choice, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will experience one of the biggest and probably most unrecoverable things to your savings and investments is you
Mhm.
went out there and you took out a big chunk. That's never going to really bounce back from market growth.
Right.
So what that type of insurance does is, okay, here's that immediate injection of cash, tax free, by the
Hmm.
way, um, to now not have to make that choice and be able to do both.
Right.
Or with the life insurance, if you pass away and now you're down a paycheck, and what all that money you would have brought into the house over the years for your career is now gone. Well, now it can be made up with the insurance, and your group benefits. What's provided there is not even a drop in the bucket for what
That's good
what
to
you would
know.
probably need, right?
Yeah.
And you could get the cheap and easy all the way up to the Cadillac with the leather seats and the power windows kind of version of the insurance. So you got to talk with your advisor if you don't have one. And this individual here is serious about finding a correct answer there. Tell them to reach out, and I'll tell them. But there's tons of options, and I would say without getting too boring, I don't want to bore anybody to death talking about, insurance. I think that is one of the most important tools for protecting your wealth accumulation. Because if you have it, great. If you don't and you need it, your nest egg is got holes all just riddled with bullet holes. It's a leaky
Right.
bucket.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's the chances of death before age 65 small, but not zero. The chances of contracting a critical illness, which is one of the 25 to 30 different illnesses covered in most of these contracts, is 1 in 2.
Yeah.
Um, the disability component, 1 in 3 people are going to be on a disability that lasts a handful of years or longer. And 1 in 6 of them is going to be off the rest of their life.
Right.
Like this is a little more than a coin toss, but like these are
Yeah.
still some heavy numbers, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people forget. That's a really, really good question that individual asked. Bravo, whoever you are, because a lot of people fail to think that. Not surprised. It'd be a dark day if you woke up every day thinking, what happened? Can I afford to die? Can I
Yeah.
afford to have a heart
Yeah.
attack? I mean, good Lord. But I guess given the nature of your guys' work, you're rolling up to some people on their absolute worst goddamn day.
Yeah.
And that person's never coming back if they make it
Yeah.
to normal.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine the financial strain if that was you? Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. That's actually one of the best questions I think we got so far. This guy's really
That's
thinking deep here.
I'm not
That's
gonna lie
good.
to you, man. I've never really thought about that.
Well, that's totally
Like,
normal.
yeah.
I'd be hard pressed to think that, knowing you that you walk around every day, can I afford to die? Uh, that's
Yeah. Yeah, man.
you have to be kind of weird to think that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure.
that's why I got a job, I guess. I can think about these things and have that conversation and say, duh, dude, have you looked at it this way?
Yeah.
2 times earnings. Are you going to come back to life in 3 years? No? Well, then come on.
Exactly.
Use
Yeah.
use your noodle here, pal.
For
Like, let's
sure.
go, right? Yeah.
And like you said too, like in especially like in BC here where the cost of living is so high and everyone has high mortgages and stuff like that,
Sure.
if you pass away and, like you said, let's say you have, you know, two extra salary is your life insurance or whatever. Well, I know that's not enough to cover my mortgage, so
Unless you come back to life in year 3,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, if that's the case, why'd you die in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Why'd you piss
exactly.
everybody off and make everybody
Yeah.
cry
Just
into
going on
their
a little
soup for
a
two
little
years?
2-year
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah. Like, I mean, come on, dude. So when you present it that way from just a realistic kind of approach and you think about it, you're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense, right?
yeah,
But this is what I mean, where I try and make things just plain English, tabletop. Let's just be real.
yeah,
Let's just talk.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, those are some of the conversations we
That's
have.
that's such an important one, man. Like now that we've discussed it, it's like, holy shit. Like I've never really thought, like I was
Well,
just like,
just
oh, I get life insurance through work. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like,
So look at you. You got a lady and a baby at home, right? And your paycheck stops coming in. What is their life like,
yeah, fuck, not
right?
good.
There you go.
Lots of sacrifices would be made, that's for sure.
Ones that you probably would pain you to think that it's like, especially, I mean, I'm not trying to put a label or a sticker on anything, but especially, us as men, we're just wired by nature to protect and provide, and to have that pit in your stomach that if something happened to me out of my control, took me out,
Yeah,
so be it. God called me. Okay.
yeah,
Uh, but what was in your control is making sure that those that you are out there working, and no one likes getting up to an alarm clock every day, but you have a sense of pride that, like, I'm putting food in the fridge for my wife and my kid, and
absolutely.
a roof over their head, and man, I'm excited for what we're going to build as a family. And then all of a sudden, bam, but I leave them with a bill
Yeah,
and a sad memory of what happened to dad, what happened to the love of my life. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely, man.
yeah,
It's
right.
it's for sure. It's these types of conversations that need to be had.
But yeah, man. So that's a really good I'm actually really impressed by that guy or gal's question because that is something everybody should be thinking about, whether you're a first responder or not. I mean, mathematically, like what's important? Yeah,
Yeah,
protect who you love, and yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna. We'll talk more about it after.
sure, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. So, how much of an emergency fund should someone in our profession maintain?
Whether it's your profession or any profession, I mean, there's going to be some individuals that uh, may require a slightly different number given circumstances, but the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months. So, if you could have, say, 3 to 6 months of at minimum expenses or salary kind of just tucked away. So let's just say, you make, I don't know, let's just keep it easy, 5 grand per month. If you could have 15 grand just kind of kept there, tucked away, like, and I'm talking like ATM access kind of
Hmm.
money or something like liquid where it's back in your bank account if need be within a few short business days, 3 business days, fine. But 3 to 6, so like 6 months of expenses or 3 months of salary to at least start. Now, I mean, some people might be a little bit more comfortable or uncomfortable with certain numbers. Again, that's totally up to them. But if I
Right.
could give just a simple kind of, rule of thumb,
Yeah.
yeah, that
three
three
to
to
six
three to
months
six months
of expenses or of
or of
salary.
salary. Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever you
that makes
feel.
sense. And it makes sense, like you're saying, like you want that to be something you can pull out of an ATM if you have to, right? Because it's an emergency fund, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. You walk up to the bank teller and say, "Hey, I need X amount," or "Oh crap, something happened." I mean, the
yeah,
ATM is kind of limited on what you could
for
pull out,
sure.
but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I'm
But
saying? Like
yeah,
that
but you
type
can
of
get it right away if you need it, kind of
quick and
thing.
easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when you look at someone's financial kind of plan, there's generally four uh, cornerstones. Now they apply to everybody. If you were, say, young Jimmy, fresh out of college, trying to find a job, scraping by, you're going to have slightly different needs than if you were, 90-odd-year-old Jimmy Pattison, the
Yeah.
the billionaire.
Right.
All four of those cornerstones are going to play a role, but one is going to be more important versus the other. So it's the first one is liquidity, your ability to access cash in the event of emergencies or opportunities. One of those blocks for the foundation is emergency fund, right?
Right.
3 6 months, whatever is palatable for you or suits your needs. The next one would be income and asset protection. Your income is important because it pays the bills, and then it also allows you to save and accumulate assets, real estate, investment
Hmm.
portfolios, you name it. Once you have them, they're pretty much worth protecting. I explained why you want to protect your income a moment ago, talking about if you got banged up at work and couldn't work or you got
Hmm.
sick, your income dries up, the water wheel stops spinning,
Yeah.
right? The third would be retirement, and then the fourth would be tax and estate planning. And I lump those two together because a lot of people don't realize that when you die, that is the last and probably one of the biggest tax bills that your name, even though you're dead, you're still alive until you finalize your final tax return according to the CRA.
Really?
Yeah, God bless them, right?
Holy
Yeah.
fuck.
Um,
That is
Definitely probably one of your biggest tax bills. So I lump those
together there.
together. Exactly.
Nice.
Um, so tax efficiency is pretty key. If you go out there and take all the risk to earn 10% a year interest, and here in Canada, you earn interest, 50% of that is gone, you get 5%. Or if I could show you something that had way less risk and gave you 5% tax free, you're going to end off being in the exact same boat and you paid a lot less tax and took a lot less risk.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
tax efficiency is key. Don't always focus on the return, focus on the yield. What
Right.
do you actually get to put in your jeans?
Yeah.
So those four cornerstones are super important. Jim, fresh out of school, he's going to be very, very focused on liquidity. I need to save up 3 to 6 months. I need to get some of these things going, this and that. Jim, the Patterson, let's just name everybody knows, 90-odd-year-old billionaire is probably more focused on tax and estate planning. And not
Yeah.
how are you going to take all these billions with you? That'd be one hell of a spending spree.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah. It'd be a sweet party.
right, right. So he's probably more concerned about transitioning his wealth to his family or charities or what have you, and minimizing taxes. So
Right.
everyone is going to fit
So
into
so when you pass away, who gets stuck with that tax bill then? Whoever your
your
beneficiary
estate.
is?
Your estate. So if you're married, most of your stuff just rolls over
Okay.
to your spouse.
Right.
And then the tax bill comes at the last of you to pass.
Right.
But when you want to go give it to your kids, that's where your silent business partner, the CRA, shows up and says, "Hey, I want X, Y, and Z." But there is planning that you can do to eliminate or drastically minimize
Right.
a lot of those
Interesting.
issues. But yeah, uh,
Government just they have their hand in your pocket all the time. Hey, even after you kick the bucket, they still want what's owed to them.
yeah, they'll probably try and charge you for the bucket, but it's it's. I mean, I'm being a bit facetious there, but yeah.
For sure, for sure.
They're a gang, dude.
When can you start income splitting with your spouse to bring tax brackets down?
Um, kind of like, whenever. And again, if you guys were both earning same or similar income, it might not make sense. But
Right.
this is obviously a conversation best had with your CPA, like your accountant, because they've got their
They understand your income levels
fingers
and
in the dirt. Like, let's just say, I would, everyone gets us mixed up, but let's look at the difference between a firefighter and a paramedic. Firefighters are usually first to show up, right?
hmm
If not almost every time. And there's a lot of things that you can do that a paramedic could also do. There's also a lot of things that a paramedic can't do that you could, and vice versa.
yeah,
A financial advisor and an accountant are opposite sides of the same coin. One makes the beans, the other counts the beans, and the two of them have to kind of, in some cases, work together for the better interest of their mutual client.
right,
So when it comes to income splitting, is definitely a conversation you want to have with your CPA, as they're kind of hands in the dirt on that task of finalizing and preparing your taxes and letting you know what's going on there. But if there is a tremendous, somewhat of a larger gap between one spouse versus the other, you can start looking at the income splitting. It also has a place sometimes, a good chunk of the time actually, in retirement. You got someone that's getting, say yourself, okay, or your colleagues,
hmm
people that look at this podcast and listen to what you have to say that are asking these questions, firefighters. Okay, so you're going to have a defined benefit pension plan, maybe some other savings. Maybe your spouse didn't. Maybe they were a homemaker or they didn't have these pensions available to them. That may be a situation that would alleviate some of like what your other viewers were asking questions about in terms of how do you structure the retirement income. That could be a tool as well.
right,
I mean, I know my grandparents do it. He's got a defined benefit pension plan. He was a longshoreman for, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 decades.
yeah.
Um, my grandmother, I mean, she just turned 84 years old yesterday. So happy
Nice.
birthday, Grandma. I know
Happy
she's
birthday to
watching
her.
this, but that's a scenario where she's just been, she's had the very tough and important job of raising a family. So it's not like she has, a pension or had much of an income. So the income splitting for them, prime case,
Right, makes total
right?
sense. Yeah,
So it's case by case, but generally one spouse would have to have an income
larger.
larger than the other for it to make sense.
Cool, awesome. Um, what is your opinion on RSP versus classic investing, TFSA, and our pension in regards to tax bracket and monthly incomes? You kind of already.
I did, but this is something that maybe I'll touch on this because this is something I really hear a lot where someone's like, "Oh, should I just invest and buy stocks or should I, invest in an RSP?" Well, an RSP is just a bucket. If I choose to put water, wine, tea, or Coca-Cola in that bucket or glass, that's on me.
hmm
The RSP is just, or the TFSA or what have you, is just dictating the size and volume of the cup.
Right.
So you'd want to use them all, right?
Yeah.
Like if you were in a scenario where you've maxed out your TFSA and your RSP and you got non-registered investments plus, a pension, how you would structure that portfolio differently, like hypothetically, this isn't advice to anybody. Again, this is case by case. Knowing that here, interest income is taxed a lot higher than, say, capital gains. If I own a stock and I bought it for $1
Mm-hmm.
and I sell it when it's $2, I made $1, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm taxed on that dollar. When I sell, if I had $1 and it made me $1 of interest, now I got $2. I'm taxed on that dollar this year, up to 50 odd percent.
Okay. Interesting.
So if you're looking at how do I structure this, there is no difference in terms of the portfolio you would hold in an RSP TFSA versus, not. How I might suggest you do it differently is if you have that need for fixed income exposure, right? Something that's just giving you interest income, put that in the tax sheltered accounts because now that aggressive 50% tax on your income, if you're in the highest bracket, of
Mm-hmm.
course, well, it's in a tax shelter. We don't have to worry about that. And
Right.
if we are going to incur taxes, have that be taxed as capital gains. So all of my stocks and such are or whatever is remaining after that are in my non-registered portfolio. So I'm only paying at worst 26% when
When you
I
pull it out.
sell. Yeah.
Right.
And there might
Okay.
be some small uh, taxable events throughout the year, depending on what your advisor, how he structures, what's called rebalancing. I do it every 6 months. You have stock A, stock B. So let's just say you got McDonald's, Microsoft, Amazon, Coca-Cola. Some of them start to go on a run. So you wanted X, Y, Z percent.
Mm-hmm.
And then it starts to float, that wedge of the pie starts to expand or contract. Well, you want to let it go if it's going to make you, make hay while the sun shines. So if
Mm-hmm.
one of them's going on a run, okay, let it go. But every 6 months, you're going to take from the gains from the winners and pat it out over the maybe the losers. So
Right.
that way, I am ensuring I stick to my client's investor profile and utilizing their wealth as best that they can and minimizing that volatility for them.
Right.
So there might be some small tax implications when that happens, but that's actually for the better because we're keeping
In the
a
grand
good
scheme of
health to
things,
the
it's
portfolio.
it's
Yeah,
it makes way more sense, right?
that's how I would do it. But there's no difference, and based on that person's question, they think this, and a lot of people do. There is no difference between investing in an RSP and a TFSA in terms of the actual portfolio. You can do
Right.
the exact same thing
Right.
in both. It's just a bucket.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, man. And this with a question for you personally. So
Okay.
we ask all of our guests like a somewhat similar question, but let's say, if you could go back to your early 20s, let's say, knowing what
I'll
you
buy.
know now.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, keep at it. You have the right mindset. Don't get distracted. Focus. Spend less. Save more.
Nice.
And don't be scared to dip your toe in. I mean, I've been for good or bad, uh, fearless in my action. I have an idea. I go for it. I won't give up. I will not ever give up. Which, like I said, for good or bad. But
Hmm.
sometimes you go with these horse blinders, right? We get very lasered in on one thing and forget to kind of stop and put your head on a swivel. I would have started investing earlier and saving more. Just now, knowing when I know where that would have put me, and if I go back to my mid 20s, there was, some stuff that happened a few years after that where I actually talking about that, those insurances, I ran into a situation where I could qualify for them. And I wish I had bought more.
Mm.
You know, I bought the leather seats, power windows Cadillac version, thinking in my head, okay, I'm going to claim on this if I'm 50 or 60. I should have just bought the cheap and easy, just lock it in and get it version, because for that, you know, same amount of money I was spending on this versus what, a claim would have been, for the same amount of money, I would have got 4 times more money.
Right.
So that changed my advice to especially the clients is just get as much as you can for what you can afford, lock it in, and we'll convert it to the fancy stuff later if it needs to do that.
If you need to do
Don't
so.
go and get the fancy one now. Just get as much of the cheap and easy insurance as you can. And we got all the years ahead of us to go and shine it up and make it the fancy one. But just get it, lock it in, save more, invest earlier, and get more coverage and structure my insurance a little different. Are the three big, if I'm talking through the lens of a financial advisor to a younger person,
Mm.
those are the big three that I would do.
Nice.
Or sitting on camera, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
there are a
exactly. Yeah.
few people I should have avoided and stay away from the ladies. But it was
It happens.
right, like, so a bit of that. But yeah,
Awesome. Well, Stephen, thanks very much for coming on
thanks for
and
having me, man.
providing all this information. It's definitely really interesting stuff, and really, I know I learned a lot, and I know the people who ask those questions are going to be
Yeah,
pretty happy, and just our everyday listeners are going to learn a lot as well. So, um, yeah, man, means
cool.
a lot.
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, you could just drop me a line. So it's Stephen with a PH, so STEPHEN at everwealth.ca. Send me an email, put subject line Firefighters Global podcast, and then I'll know this is where you're coming from, and we'll have a chat. Yeah.
Awesome.
I hope I answered whoever provided those questions. I hope I answered them as best I can without being obviously specific as it would be if I was sitting in front of them like you. But I hope your viewers got value out of this, and I didn't
I'm sure they did for sure.
bore the hell out of them, and they're like, "Wow,
No, no, no.
what a
You
freaking
kept it
nerd!"
you kept it fun and interesting,
What a
man.
nerd, right? Yeah, no, I'm joking.
No,
But
you kept it interesting and fun and yeah, man. It was a great
cool.
conversation. Appreciate it,
Thanks for
brother.
having me, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
That was awesome, dude. Yeah.